Chapter 3, Reflective Teaching. What's reflective teaching? Reflective teaching, looking back to move forward. Yes, just look at the picture and try to think what we mean by reflective teaching. Reflective teaching means looking at what you do in the classroom. After finishing teaching, you go home, you will think about what you did, why you do it, and thinking about if it works, a process of self-observation and self-evaluation. Just look at the picture now in this slide. The man here looks at a mirror, looks at himself, and try to observe, try to evaluate himself. What's the definition of reflective teaching? It's a means of looking at what you do in the classroom, thinking about why you do it, thinking about if it works, a process of self-observation, self-evaluation. So reflection involves working toward a better understanding of the problems and thinking of ways to solve these problems. After finishing the meaning or the concept of reflective teaching, why reflective teaching? Why we want reflective teaching in our life? Why we want reflective teaching in our teaching process itself? The purpose of doing it is to improve the quality of teaching through data collection. So look at this picture. This picture tells us some benefits of reflective teaching. It may enable teachers to act in a deliberate manner. Being a reflective teacher improves teaching practice, increases classroom experience, give you more general information or general knowledge about yourself and about your teaching process as a whole. Frees teachers from routine behavior. Try to think of other purposes or other objectives of reflective teaching. After finishing what's reflective teaching, why reflective teaching, now you're gonna be ready to how to reflect. The way to reflect. The ways to have teaching reflection could be done through peer observation. What we mean by peer observation means our colleagues will observe us while teaching and tell us their comments concerning our teaching itself. Written account of experiences, you may write your own experience concerning what you did, self-reports, autobiographies, journal writing, collaborative diary keeping, and recording lessons, students' feedback, and teachers' stories. All those are considered instruments through which you can reflect on your teaching. Personal reflective teaching tools. Here in the picture, you may see some personal reflective teaching tools like learning logs, like teaching logs, like teacher diary, like some journals, writing journals. Yes. Also, the feedback of our students may be some of the tools of reflective teaching themselves. Let's see this slide. Reflective practice. What are the reasons, what are the purposes of reflective teaching? The first one may be it raises awareness of teaching and learning process. Yeah, great. Through reflecting on your teaching, your awareness of teaching itself and learning as a process will increase, will be raised. What else? What about your development as a teacher? It will foster your teacher development. Also allows teachers to act as agents of innovation. Through reflection, you can innovate your performance, you can innovate yourself, innovate your experiences. Are there levels for reflection? Of course, yes. There are some levels of reflection. Let's see. We have three levels of reflections. The first one is technical rationality. The second one is critical critical reflection, and the third one is efficient and effective application for educational knowledge. Let's read this slide and try to think of what we mean by this. Three levels of reflections. Technical rationality. In this first level, practical reflection. In the second level, and critical reflection in the third levels. So let's remind us of the three levels. The first one is technical, the second one is practical, and the third one is critical. So technical, practical, and what about the third one? Critical. Yes. The first level emphasizes the efficient and effective application for educational knowledge. Here you have knowledge concerning education in achieving given goals. Then you will practice, and after that you will comment, you will focus on the reflection, will focus on the comments concerning what you did. As we mentioned before, one of the purposes of reflection is teacher development. The objective of reflection is developing you as a teacher. What's a teacher development? It's a term used in literature to describe a process of continual intellectual, experiential, and attitudinal growth of teachers. Why development? Why teacher development? What are the reasons for developing yourself as a teacher? Number one, to overcome the sense of isolation from daily teaching activities. To enable teachers to get in touch with positive people, finding colleagues for co-developing materials, providing contacts for next job search, offering new teaching ideas, conducting action research. In addition to that, teaching development can help expand teachers' conceptual understanding of teaching, boosting confidence as a professional, and gaining confirmation and reaffirmation that what teacher does is worthwhile. What about the areas of professional development? There are some areas of professional development that can be summed up as following. Number one, engaging in self-reflection and evaluation, developing specialized knowledge and skills about many aspects of teaching, expanding their knowledge base about research theory and actions in teaching, taking on new roles and responsibilities such as supervisor or mentor teacher, teacher researcher, or materials writer. The last one here, developing collaborative relationship with other teachers. Let's see some concepts like particularity. Particularity refers to context-sensitive pedagogy. Practicality means that theorize what teachers practice and practice what teachers theorize. And possibility means the social, political, educational source and institutional forces that shape identity formation and social transformation. The context in which teachers work have an important influence on teaching, since different teaching settings involve teachers in different kinds of roles, ranging from fairly autonomous in designing course assessment to a more guided role. The concept of post-method pedagogy. Starting from this, post-method framework was outlined in terms of macro strategies and micro strategies, which it claims to be theory and method neutral as they are not confined to underlying assumption of any one specific theory of language, learning and teaching. They are not conditioned by a single set of principles or procedures associated with language teaching methods. What about the 10 macro strategies that he proposed? Number 1. Maximize learning opportunities. Facilitate negotiate interaction. Minimize perceptual mismatches. Activate initiative heuristics. Foster language awareness. Contextualize linguistic input. Integrate language skills. Promote learner autonomy. Ensure social relevance and raise cultural consciousness. To implement the mentioned 10 macro strategies, micro strategies are designed to realize the objective of macro strategies. Conditioned and constrained by national, regional, or local language policy and planning, curricular objectives, institutional resources, and a host of other factors that shape the learning and teaching enterprise in a given context. So, the specific strategies would need teachers' creativity in designing it to meet the need of local context. Apart from macro and micro strategies, post-method pedagogy proposes 3 pedagogic parameters, namely particularity, practicality, and possibility. What's a particularity? Refers to context-sensitive pedagogy. Practicality: theorize what teachers practice and practice what teachers theorize. Possibility: the social, political, educational source, and institutional forces that shape identity, information, and social transformation. What's context in language teaching? The context in which teachers work have an important influence on teaching. Different teaching settings involve teachers in different kinds of roles, ranging from fairly autonomous in designing course assessment to a more guided role. What about the role of an institution in regard to teachers' role? Does the role of an institution affect the teacher's role or not? For example, if you are teaching in a school, your role will change. If you work in a university or in a faculty, for example, if you are teaching in a primary stage or a general section, a general, not a general section, not a, I mean private sector or general sector, the role of the teacher will change or not. They elaborate that the institutional administrative structure, the culture operating in each institution, and its teaching philosophy create particular roles for teachers. What do you think? You agree or not? Furthermore, exemplify that the school may have one principal, several senior teachers, large number of regular teachers. The senior teachers make the most of the key decisions and the regular teachers do most of the teaching. Think. Try to think. Do you think There is a relationship among reflective teaching, post method pedagogy, and teacher professional development. Post method pedagogy as a tool of doing teaching reflection. It may serve as a means of improving classroom teaching through macro and micro strategies, along with its three pedagogic parameters. This would ease teacher develop his or her professionalism in classroom teaching. What about the constraints? What about the challenges of teacher development? Lack of time and money, attitudes, perceptions, and expectations of the learning experience, the individual's lack of confidence, and the fact that they may consider themselves as too old. What do you think? Maybe the constraints of teacher professional development. Try to think. Look at this teacher. What are the ideas in his mind? What are the words or the phrases he wrote here? This month I'm working on. At the moment I'm improving my knowledge of. The learners responded well to X. What if I use this again? I'm confident that my strength is in the classroom, or I'll ask my learners what might make the lesson more interesting for them. I tried a new idea in my classroom last week. I think it would have worked better if. Is
What it
doing now. He's reflecting on on his teaching, yes. As a home assignment, please read chapter 4 at your book and summarize it, focusing on the points highlighted in the current slides. Okay? Thank you. See you next week, God willing. Goodbye.